Morning, guys. Welcome back to the farm. Today I am going to be finally transplanting some of these tomatoes that we started a while back out into the garden. I've had them out here on this pallet for, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe. And as you can see, these dudes have really took off since we uppotted them. This guy here is probably 1.5 feet tall, maybe pushing 2 feet, and looks like it's getting ready to put blooms on. You know, which is not always a good thing if they do that before you transplant them. Simply because that's more transplant shock that you've got to work out of your plants. Well, a lot of these limbs. And yeah, we'll probably plant this dude up to here, if not, actually up to about right here. That much of it in the ground. So yeah, that's going to give us a lot stronger plant since we've got that much more area of the plant that's going to root. But yeah, we've got some really good looking tomatoes out here that we need to get in the ground. I've also got a few peppers over here that we'll be working with later on. But what I wanted to show you guys was this year I'm going to be using this material. It's actually a weed barrier ground cover, and I know some of you guys probably already use it, but you know, since I do till my gardens, I have a really hard time controlling weeds. Guys, I apologize for the wind. It's blowing really bad out here today. But let me show you what I got so far. Now, my tomato garden is 50 by 30, well 50 by 26 really. But as you can see, I pulled me a line, and what I'm doing is making 24-inch beds, 24 inches across. And I've shoveled out both sides of the row. So once I put the ground cover down, I'm gonna take and rake it down, level everything up. And once I lay the ground cover down, it gives me something on both sides of it to actually mulch the sides in. Now I do have some clips that I'm gonna put on the fabric to hold it in place, but I still got some leftover compost, mulch that I'm gonna go down and actually put on top of the weed fabric to hold the edges of it down. And then once I get other rows done, I can overlap that and it'll be one solid weed barrier all the way across the tomato garden. That's the plan anyway. So what I've got here is a line. Here and here is 24 inches. So from this side to that side is 24 inches, and you can see it's kind of mounted up on top. That's where I shoveled out of the walkway into the row itself. So I'm gonna get the spring rake and come out through here and try to not so much level it down as I will rake it down and kind of dome it just a little bit in the center. And we've got 18 plants that is going to go in each row, and they're going to be spaced out right at 32, 34 inches, somewhere around in there. Not exactly 36. We may do them 3 feet on center. That way we can, you know, get plenty of spacing in between each plant. But I've also got this gadget here, which I know you guys have probably seen this too. It's a garden auger. This one is a 2.8 inch model, so it's almost 3 inches, which our plants are cupped into 3-inch cups. And this dude here will give me at least a foot. So what we're gonna plan on doing is running this fabric into the garden on the row. This being the center of it, this line in the middle being the center of it. And we'll come in and gauge every 36 inches. I'll take my hand torch and burn a hole in this a little over 3 inches, and then take the auger, go through it, and then put the tomato plant in there, backfill it. But another thing that we're going to be doing different this year is adding drip irrigation. Now, I know you've seen me add overhead sprinkler irrigation on some of the other garden, but I've had a lot of these hoses over the years. I've added these kind of soaker hose type deal, and they're actually pretty tough. I've got, I don't know, 3-4 years out of some of these, and I bought a lot more over the winter, thinking that I was specifically going to use them on tomatoes and peppers, because I don't really like the overhead water on tomatoes and peppers. I mean, just because of disease and mildew, powdery mildew and all that good stuff, but well, all that bad stuff. But yeah, so before I lay the ground cover down, I will go in and actually lay this drip tape right up under the mat next to where the holes are going to be. So quite naturally, I need to blow the holes in it or burn the holes in it before I lay this drip irrigation down. So more than likely what I'll do is anchor the front of it, lay it down, kind of temporary anchor the back of it, blow my holes, flip it back up, lay the tape, lay it down, and that way I can position it through the holes and make sure it's right up against where the plants are. Again, that's the plan. Everything doesn't always go as planned. So we're gonna get out here and do a little bit more shoveling, a little bit raking. You know, I'm on vacation this week, and we got some projects up at the house that I'm gonna be working on. I'm waiting, it's still kind of early, so I'm waiting on up in the morning to get started on some of that. But yeah, for now, I'm gonna get out here and rake some of this row down and get the ground cover ready to put down. All right, guys, so as you can see, I got the spring rake out, raked everything down flat and level as it can get. And I laid the drip irrigation hose down the center of it just to make sure that I was gonna have enough room on both sides of it. So what I'm gonna do now is get this roll of weed barrier, and I'm gonna roll it out along the ground and cut it off in 50-foot lengths. Now, this stuff's pretty tough, and I imagine I can get 3, 4, 5 years out of a roll. But this roll, I got enough to do the tomato garden with, and I got several more rolls coming so I can do my squash and all that good stuff the same way. And this takes a little bit of work to get started, especially if you're gonna do this over the entire area. But I'm thinking of the time that I won't be spending doing the weeding that I normally do, and the investment is just gonna outweigh the upfront sweat equity that it takes to get it installed. But I can see the benefit of having these beds, and I'm thinking that once we take the tomatoes out of this garden, and I always put a winter crop in here, usually it's collards, but I may leave that weed fabric down and just put my collards on 3-foot centers just like I do my tomatoes, and not even take it up until, you know, I get ready to amend the soil in late winter. But yeah, right now, so far, like I said, it's a little bit of sweat equity to get started, but I can see the benefits outweighing all of the work that we won't be doing with a stirrup hoe or a hoe or pulling weeds or whatever. So guys, like I said, the wind's blowing pretty rough out here today, so bear with me. But on this particular type of fabric, you've got a core side, which is the side that's got your grid lines on it, and you've got a felt looking side. Now your felt side goes down, it goes against the dirt. And the thinking behind this is you cannot see through this. I can see how water can get through it, but I cannot. I mean, you can see specks of daylight, but the theory behind this is that it's going to shade out, it's going to warm the soil, create a moist environment for weed seeds to germinate. But the lack of sunlight being able to penetrate through this is going to smother the weeds out. So later this winter, I'm thinking November, December, when this stuff comes up, maybe even longer than that, maybe January, when this stuff comes up, the weed or the bed will be weed free, seed free, weed free, the whole 9 yards. It'll be stale. So what we'll do in the wintertime is basically go through and probably amend the soil. And I don't know what we're going to do as far as tillage yet. This is going to be a test. If this works out like I think it will, then this bed may be, you know, we may be going to a no-till process on this bed alone. It's good soil. It's got a lot of rocks in it, but you know, we can work through that. But we're gonna get out and we're gonna cut this length of fabric. You know, the no-till possibilities is for another video. So we'll get these tomatoes in, get this application put in place, and then we'll see where it goes from there. All right guys, so I got it rolled out into a 50-foot section, and what I'm gonna do is go through here and cut this thing off. You probably should burn it off so it kind of melts the ends and you don't wind up with frayed ends. And I'll come back with a torch after I come through and get everything marked for the holes, and I'll come down the side of it and basically just, you know, sear the end of it to stop that from happening. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this cut and get it in the ground because I'm having to throw everything on top of it to hold it down to keep the wind from toting it off. All right guys, so we got the first piece cut. I'm gonna move this drip irrigation hose out of the way, and we're gonna get this, hopefully we're gonna get this in the ground without it toting us off across the woods there. But we're gonna try to get it in here and get the ends of it. The wind is coming out of the north, so if I can get this side of it anchored, I think we'll be in good shape. It may flop it around, but that's okay. As long as I got the end of it, this side of it anchored down, it'll be okay, because I'm gonna have to fold it back over anyway when I put this drip irrigation down. But yeah, we're gonna try to get this thing in the hole. We're gonna attempt to anyway with the wind blowing. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, so we're getting there. We got it on top of the row. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna get the wheelbarrow and the pitchfork. Sun's still behind the clouds and the trees on this side. Before it pops out, because it's gonna get hot right here real quick, I'm gonna take the wheelbarrow and I'm gonna go over here and load up a good pile of compost, and I'm gonna come down this leading edge and I'm gonna fill that up. Probably even with the top of the ground, that way it's got a good, it's got good weight on top of it, it'll hold it there. And then I won't have to worry about this edge. All I have to worry about is the back and flipping it this way. That way I can lay the irrigation in and then put it back down, and we'll do the same on the back side after we get the next row in. These rows are more than likely going to be a little more than 36 inches apart. I've got 5 rows planned to go in this garden, and I think I can make it happen. I've got to be real cautious about my spacing in between the rows, because I got enough to get 5, and if I stretch too far, that's gonna push me in the woods, and I don't want to get them in the shade. So we're gonna get some compost and come down here and put this leading edge down, and then we'll get to marking this 36-inch plant spacing and get ready to put these tomatoes in the ground. I'm gonna get my tools up. I got to run up here at the house and take care of a few projects, but later on this afternoon I'm gonna come back down here and we'll get this one row planted this evening, so don't go anywhere. Alright guys, so if you don't like the looks of a pretty row of tomatoes like this, something's wrong with you. Glad to have that behind us. Although I've still got 4 more rows to put in, just like this one. The first one is always the hardest, because after this, everything falls in line. So tomorrow I'll get out here and I'll go ahead and get everything else lined up. And I'll probably start early in the morning and do the first row, or do the second row just like I did this one. And keep moving on until we get what we've got started in the garden. Now I've still got 4 or 5 more different varieties up in the barn that I want to get started, so as these determinate tomatoes start coming out of the garden, then we can start replacing it with different varieties of determinate and indeterminate tomatoes. So, we change up throughout the growing season. Guys, if you haven't subscribed already, reach over here in this right hand corner and click that subscribe button and click the bell notification so you get notified every time I put out a video. As always guys, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.